So I said, all right, this man right here, I was still using language like better and worse and good and bad. So I said, this one is our worst choice, and this one is our best choice. And I already knew what best and worst meant to me personally, and it meant which one is the most aligned with universal truth, which one is most in the vibration of love, which one has the highest level of awareness, therefore can be the one that brings forth the most love to our version of reality. I'm psyched and pumped because I've been listening to guides for a couple of years now, and they're painting a really pretty picture of what our country is going to look like and what the world is turning into. So I'm pumped. This is an opportunity for us to get the best damn pope possible. Didn't I use damnation in that sentence? We're going to get the best darn pope that we can. Gosh darn pope that we can get. And woo, the stars are going to shine more brightly. And sure enough, I did find out that the word was elect. They elected the pope. They elected the pope. So they elected the pope. So Stryker pulls out the paper. He's like, Karen, I have some really bad news. And I thought it was a joke. Like he's going to say, you picked it. We got the best one. Life is good. You heard your guides right. But it was the worst one. I picked out of 20 or 30 men the one that was the worst for civilization possible. Now, I could care less about the Pope, but I care about humanity. I care about being psychic and being able to hear my guide's version of we're going to create a brand new world, and the level of awareness of humanity is rapidly increasing. So to me, this was evidence that everything my guides had told me was wrong, and that the world is crushed. It's going to be decimated now. So I am sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. They could have dropped a bomb on the street right by my house, and I wouldn't have felt any less pain than I felt when I knew that outcome. So I was a newbie at communicating with guides. I could only communicate with them when I was feeling at least not bad. I didn't have to be feeling good, but I had to be at least not feeling bad. And I was feeling really bad, so I couldn't talk to them. I was cursing at them, but I couldn't talk to them. So they're registering my complaints, hoping that at one point I'll stop cursing at them and they can have a conversation with me again. So apparently that night was the time. I finally stopped being mad at them. And I'm like, what up, you liars? Oh, wait, I was still a little mad. And they said, listen, here's what happens. The way humanity really grows is that whatever range we're living in, even if it's a range below the line, we become so accustomed to that suffering, that pain, that negative space. It's our personal normal. So we don't really look to leave that state. We stay in that state because it is our own personal normal. It's like an old blanket, dirty or not, ripped or not, it doesn't even have to keep you warm. It's normal. It's normal. And in order for us to want to strive to move that range up and to create a brand new emotional range of where we live and play and be, we sometimes have to go way lower before we can go up. And so it was really important that the universe have an opportunity to discover that the whole Catholic religion, all people connected to Catholicism, could have an opportunity to define for themselves what they want and what they don't want. And the better way for them to do that, rather than just continually be rule followers or listen to edicts that are coming down from people that have no personal connection with whatsoever, would be to be in a state of increased pain because of who was making the rules. And that's exactly what happened. I now know that his name was Benedict. Pope Benedict made a lot of people on earth unhappy. And his version of reality, his lens of perspective, was archaic and medieval in its ability to be inclusionary, to be, really living through the lens of love, to be embracing eternal ideals, he wasn't able to do that. So there were a lot of people that were disenfranchised by the Catholic Church. There were a lot of people that said, you know what, this is just not for me. I don't really think I'm going to go to church anymore. I just can't. Because he was basically saying that if you don't follow this exact example of what a worthy human is, you're not belonging in our community, and you are a sinner, and you will be convicted and sent to eternal damnation. So that's pretty bad. And then what happened was, well, I'm not allowed to use the word miracle because Catholics have a very strident definition of miracle, right? That's another thing, right? So, but I'm going to use the word miracle anyway. So what if I go to hell for it? But then a miracle happened. This Pope Benedict had a very short reign, like absurdly short. Usually they just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on forever. We can't even remember not having that particular Pope. But very short reign, he's out. They get to do this all over again. And what happens? The next one that they elect is just about as aligned with the vibration of love as is humanly possible in that construct. So the only way that our Pope today could have been elected would be in the absence of the vibration of love. That's the only way anybody knew that we weren't existing in love, was to live in the absence of it. So that interesting contrast is sometimes what makes people determine what they do value, what is important to them, what they want moving forward. So am I saying that, Trump is the worst of the 30 candidates? I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that people who are disenfranchised today feel as though it was the worst possible outcome. And according to the people that contacted me today, it's the worst possible outcome under any circumstances. But that's really not true. So part of being able to choose to be happy today, if you're living within that energy that you think that this is the worst possible thing that can happen, it's to create a new model for how you perceive a Trump president-elect and what can happen from this moment forward. And there are ways to approach it. First of all, think about what you think is in peril. What do you think is in jeopardy? And ask yourself, is it really in peril? For a lot of the people that contacted me today, it was women, it was parents of daughters, it was the gay community, it was a lot of people who were not born in the United States but are now citizens or at least living here legally. There was a lot of people that feel that the quality of their life or their livelihood or their being is in jeopardy. But what's really interesting is that nothing changed, right? Everything is exactly the same as it was yesterday. Everything is exactly the same as it was yesterday. What happens now is that we get to co-create through our choices, through our energy, through what it is that we focus on. We get to co-create what a Trump nation really looks and feels like. We're not separate from it. We are a part of it. And the choices that we make will enhance our ability to have any effect on the outcome. So the first thing we have to understand is that you're allowed to grieve, you're allowed to be angry, you're allowed to, I had one client today that used the word destroyed. He said he was destroyed. He was destroyed today. So you're allowed to have those experiences because we're human. And your version of how things affect your reality are based on your values, but they're also based on your history. They're based on the emotional range that you have lived in. Where's your comfort zone? If you have had a disenchanted childhood and you only wanted Hillary Clinton as president, and this is the opposite of what it is that you wanted, you're going to revert right back to the emotional experiences that you had when you were disenchanted as a child. It's a familiar place to go. You go back to the space of familiarity. And it elicits all sorts of feelings. I'm unworthy. I have no power. I'm invisible. These are the feelings that are being elicited in people who wanted Clinton to be elected. They feel invisible. They feel disenchanted. They feel disenfranchised. They feel unworthy. And they feel powerless. So the answer is, do you promote those feelings? Do you complain about those feelings? Do you badmouth everything that you see or hear on earth now and let those feelings grow? Do you choose to stay in that emotional range? Do you want to live in the place that you've been trying as an adult to get out of? Did you get to visit a higher range? Wouldn't you like to choose to be in that higher range again? Despite what's going on externally, wouldn't you like to rejoin that higher place and then choose to live there? The answer is, of course you would like to, but you have to activate the choice. You have to look within yourself and say, why did this outcome elicit within me a feeling of invisibility, a feeling of low self-worth, a feeling of disempowerment, a feeling of futility? What is it eliciting in me? What is it really eliciting in? Since there's been no real change, what I feel today is fear because I'm afraid to go back to where I was those things. I thought I was invisible. I thought I was irrelevant. I thought I was insignificant. I thought I was unworthy. I thought I had no power. You're afraid that the country is going to put you back there because of our president-elect. That's what you're afraid of. But the universe is a mirror for what happens inside of us. If we stay in the place of pain, our energy gets put into the universe, and we create a painful reflection back to ourselves. The universe is a consciousness. It's a breathing, living consciousness. But its role is not to decide. Its role is to reflect. It's to reflect back to us that which is going on inside of us. Not to create a new reality outside of us. It's to reflect back to us what is going on inside of us. That's its job. That's how it helps us grow up. That's how it helps us grow up. And I mean as souls. I don't mean as people. As souls, the way our souls grow is to witness back to us. I knew that this was about the alarm. That's why I looked. Sorry, guys.
Oh my God, that was brilliant that you just said that. And the way you said that. Oh my God.
Thank you. All right, the alarm's not going off. Do I have to press anything anymore? Or not? Does anybody know?
No,
I shall find out the answer to that. Take over, whoever's connected.
Put it
okay,
in the
let's select somebody right now.
There you go, yeah. Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Go. Good time. Victoria, go tell us about your perfume.
Oh yeah, speech.
Put the light on your perfume.
Oh, it's Steve? Steve, you're the one that took over? I knew there was someone connected in this room. Okay, I can turn my phone off now because I got the call that I wanted. So you're allowed to grieve, you're allowed to be disappointed, you're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to wonder. You're even allowed to be afraid. But you're not allowed to stay there. You're not. You're not. You're not. Being in a negative space, focusing on lack, focusing on insecurities, focusing on disempowerment, that's a luxury. You don't have that luxury. None of us have that luxury unless you want to live in the worst of the emotional range spaces that you've ever lived in before. If you want to return there, then take the luxury. Wallow. I promise you will recreate that emotional range. I promise you, you will create it. You will create it again if that's where you choose to stay. And that's the key. If you realize that you don't have the luxury of staying there, then you have to find an alternative. You have to find an alternative. And that's what it is that we do all the time. When you guys come here each month, or you come to any seminar, or you read a book, or you watch my videos, or you listen to me on the radio, or anyone that's attuned to universal truth or understands a pathway to happiness, what you're doing is saying, I do not choose to wallow. I do not choose a lesser version of reality than I know to be true or that I know is possible. I want to be a part of the group that is going to make our being human a better experience. I am not opting to be one of those who's going to bring us down. And if I wallow too long, if I stay in a place of disempowerment too long, I am choosing to be a part of the problem rather than a component of the solution. And I won't do that. I won't do it for myself, and I won't do it for anybody I love or anyone that hasn't even been born yet. And that's what we have to remember. You know, I know that as I get messages and I share, I actually am kind, so I like to do so kindly. And I make a lot of suggestions, whether it's in a session or it's at a seminar, and it resonates with people. These suggestions are like, yeah, I got that. They feel good. But I can feel that we can't be that gentle with ourselves when it comes to this. We have to take a hard line and stand up for what we want to be, what we want to represent. We have to stand up for it for ourselves, and we have to stand up for it with others. So there's choices now. So let's just say that the cross-section of the people that contacted me today might be represented in this room. Why they feel invisible, or why they feel disillusioned, or why they feel powerless. So let's look at it. Let's create a different version of that. First thing you have to do when you're creating a different version of what you perceive is you first have to find the benefits in that which you perceive to be negative. Because without being able to discover any upside, you're not going to be able to say that there's possibility, that possibility exists. When I am doing coaching, sometimes I can be with someone that just doesn't understand like why they're even here anymore, right? So I have to go to a place where it makes sense to them why they're here. Because if we can't start there, we have nowhere to go, right? We have to go to a place where right now, you know it makes sense for you to be living and breathing and having a life. And what that usually means is hope. At a bare minimum, the first thing that it is that you need is hope. You need to have hope. In this particular case, the way that we introduce hope into what we might think is not hopeful is to find the potential benefits in this outcome. So, let's talk about it. Can anybody think, we're all going to pretend that we're unhappy that Trump was elected. It doesn't have to be true. We're having a philosophical conversation here. Philosophically, you're on the Hillary side of the debate team. Everyone here is on the Hillary side of the debate team. Can anyone imagine what a potential benefit of Trump being elected could be? Anyone?
The next season of Apprentice will be awesome.
Yeah. There you go. Slam dunk. There's the gift from the universe all packaged with a nice bow. Yeah.
Can I contribute something? If we just take the two names of the candidates that were running yesterday out of the equation and look at both sides, because the vote was almost split, the actual physical vote.
Okay.
So we have two sides. So all those attributes you said of the group now that voted one way, what they're feeling today, is what perhaps the other side was feeling all along.
Yes, and I get that.
Now we bring both groups together, okay? And one very critical thing to think about, and again, this is not one person or the other, this is looking at the entire system that's supposed to be guiding them, okay? And unfortunately, the system that's guiding them is taking away their free will and their ability to be independent thinkers and to think for themselves. But much of it has been passed on down over the years now. Everything we need to be told what to do and how to do it. And that's what yesterday really was a referendum about.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because the topic now is what benefit might come out of the present outcome, not debating about the outcome or its version of it.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinterpret what you said as a possible benefit. And it is a benefit I would have listed if it didn't emerge today, because it is a benefit. 8 years ago, almost the other half of America was celebrating the way that those who were voting for Trump are celebrating today, the way they felt like there's possibility and hope and there's a future, and that the world is turning out to be a better place. So in a very short period of time, almost everybody in America has had an opportunity to celebrate. But what that does is, because it has been so extreme this time, both of these 8 years ago and today, it's been so extreme, it's given us all an opportunity to be in both pairs of shoes, where you don't really often have that in history, where even when the parties are changing with our president, there hasn't necessarily been this great of a polarization of party ideals and platforms. So now everyone in America has been favored and not favored. And that's the bottom line. So you're right. So in under 10 years, everyone in the United States of America knows how it feels to feel empowered and to feel disempowered by the president of choice. So I'm going to say that, yes, that's a potential benefit. It is a potential benefit. Steve?
I was going to say that because he's has a track record of being an astute businessman, he's going to apply those values and virtues to government. And because he's not a politician, he's not a politician.
Yeah. Yes. Another potential benefit. We'll see what he does with it. We'll see where he runs with it. But let me tell you something. It's kind of interesting. I don't like to really focus on the negative, and you guys know that. But there are observations I make, and I observe them as almost just, I like to see like where we're at. I make lots of observations, and I don't necessarily feel disempowered because of them. But one observation that I've made personally through my own endeavors and through that of clients is that I've recognized that one of the things that really makes this country work is the small business person, the entrepreneur. And I'm not talking big corporate America. I'm talking all the ones in between, those who are employed and the big corporations. But that big slot in the middle, And in my observation, I've noticed that seems to be an incredibly undervalued and underappreciated segment of the population. We're not exalted. We're not given advantages. We're not promoted. We're not supported. We're not helped. Okay? So perhaps someone who has been an entrepreneur, perhaps he'll value and sing for the unsung heroes of the entrepreneurs in our country. I mean, basically, part of our value system is the idea of capitalism, supply and demand and opportunity and freedom for all, maybe that will emerge and ignite again. So yes, that is a potential benefit.
And an additional benefit, an additional thing is that he comes from a family. His background with his parents, his father and mother, were a great influence on his life, and they were all good throughout the years. So there has been, as opposed to anyone else you choose, you have a lot of negativity.
And that's a good point too. Perhaps the responsibility of being president will elicit within him the best versions of any models that he's ever come across. There's a very good possibility in that. Anyone else have a new potential benefit that can come? Yeah.
Well, possibly. I mean, what I see from just the boards and watching, where the states voted, I see that Middle America, which often is so ignored, and I heard that they are have been living without jobs and haven't been hurt by government. And that's their way of speaking out. That's their way of, So I could see that they're tired of government, and this was their way of empowering themselves.
Yes.
Which then, from that perspective, whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It means that someone else is being heard. But I can't help to go a little further, because I want to be totally in that spot, and I'm moving towards it, but I'm not there. I also feel that just like with that horrible Pope, the good thing could be that our country wakes up to, if you don't have experience and you don't have this or that, just a possibility. Whoa, Nellie, we really made a big mistake, so let's, next time, really think about how we can do better to have an enlightened leader.
Yes.
So
those are definitely more potential benefits. And trust me, I got a few things to say. So anyone else want to speak before I do? Last chance. I'm warming up. Sue.
It just, the people are going to, I think, get more involved.
Yeah.
I mean, the only side note that I would make is reading your essay from this month.
Right.
I think it was this month's essay, changed my perspective, and I don't really follow any of that, and I was just like, oh, there's nothing for me to worry about. And your essay just does it beautifully.
Oh, thank you. I should have reread that before I came here. I wonder what it said. But thank you. All right, everyone, go to my website, KarenGarvey.com, and read this month's essay. That means it'll be the first one in writings when you open up the page. I remember feeling good when I was co-writing that with the guides. So thank you. Thank you. Okay, anyone else? A potential benefit? Okay, so let me see if I can find any. Potential benefits. Potential. Doesn't mean that they're all going to be realized, but let's talk about potential benefits. One thing that's really interesting is we did see modeled from the Pope is that, there does come a time in history when we really do decide to take a definitive stand toward what we want to live with and how we want to live. And right now, what's been going on over the last few decades, probably since the 60s more or less, between civil rights and women's rights and gay rights and so on, is that we're going through these massive, very, very visible, very, very public opportunities to say that everybody matters, that everybody matters. And ultimately, there were a lot of people 8 years ago and a lot of people today that feel like they don't matter. So when you are the one that feels like you don't matter, you get to remember what it must feel like for someone else that believes that they don't matter. So this gives us an opportunity to choose to say, let's kind of just scrap this whole stupid conversation about who matters or what choices we get to make? And why don't we just all live together without judgment? Why don't we just let everybody be free? And as we move more toward people ruling over who's allowed and who's not, anyone that had permission to be something and then the permission is taken away, we're going to hear from them a little bit more than before they had it to begin with, okay? So imagine if right now our government took away women's right to vote. How's that going to play out?
No.
How's that going to play out?
It's not.
It's not going to play out well.
No, that's
Now
right.
imagine we go backward on anything that is connected to universal truth. It'll allow people to rally more, because even those who might not fall into the categories of those who are directly affected, over the last few decades, everyone's come into close and intimate contact with someone that's not necessarily one version of what it means to be a worthy person. So we have a lot more experience. We have a lot more opportunity. We have a lot more guidance and suggestions about, we are one and everybody matters. So the point is, if anybody loses any particular right or access that they used to have, it's not going to come among quiet ears anymore. It's not deaf ears. It's not going to come. It's not going to fall on deaf ears anymore. It's going to be heard, and we're going to be heard. And I love the little example that's paralleling this whole thing right now, and it is little in the scheme of the history of the United States. But what's going on with the pipeline, I'm sure everybody's aware. It's a small number of people making a very, very, very powerful statement. And that's a good thing. They are getting a lot of attention. And what's so amazing to me is that they were still in the news today when nobody seemed to be caring about anything but the outcome of the election. So small groups are learning ways to be heard. Now the other thing, a potential benefit, is that, you talked a little bit about politics. Oh no, he's not a politician. One great thing is that the entire Republican Party did not support Trump. That's a good start. That's a very good start, because we don't have a cookie cutter yes. We don't have a cookie cutter yes. We have a man in office that's going to have to work damn hard to get something done, which means he's going to have to really think and contemplate about the issues, about what it is that both sides want. He might actually, bizarrely, wind up being someone that becomes the most bipartisan president that we've had in a long time.
Absolutely.
Remember, history it melts away very, very quickly, but Trump at heart is a Democrat. Trump is also a marketing genius. So how do we know? How do we know that he didn't sit down one day and say, the Democratic Party rejects me, I am a Democrat. What if I run on the Republican ticket and I market myself in such a way through fear and disgust, inciting agony and unrest? What if I do that like I did on Apprentice, because the ratings were really high? When I was controversial, damn it, the ratings went through the roof.
Well, isn't that marketing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I realized I like Apprentice because I am the most important person on the planet, and people should see me in their living room every week, right? So I like The Apprentice. I had to figure out how to keep this thing on the air, because I really like being the most important thing on the planet. And if I can't figure out how to make it interesting so that people are watching, I don't get to be in everybody's living room anymore. Right? And oddly, really funny, is Trump could sit in that boardroom on The Apprentice one week and say something that was 100% the opposite of something that he said in the boardroom the week before? Is it because he's an idiot?
Could be.
Oh, wait, I left the building for a moment. No, it's because he knows how to market. He knows that he gave a heartful answer the previous week and the ratings didn't do very well. So if he gives a disgusting answer this week, ratings are going to spike. So what did he do? He got the ratings. He got all the ratings he needed to be in your living room every week. That's what he did. So we don't really truly know what he's going to do with that, do we? We don't. We don't truly know what he's going to do with that. We truly don't know.
Except his basic virtues will prevail.
Yes. Well, I know that's a possibility. However,
He's too unpredictable.
what I can say is that there's a possibility that that same ego that allowed him to behave in ways that could get good ratings on The Apprentice, the same ego that made him have the campaign that it is that he ran, that same ego is not going to sleep now. It's not done. I'm done. This was my goal. I'm done. All right, guys, let's teach me universal wisdom. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Let's do this thing. But what his ego will be connected to now, getting reelected, and his legacy. He's going to care what the history books say about him. He's deeply connected to what the history books say about him. So for that reason, he's going to want as many people as humanly possible to like him. That's how he operates. He wants people to like him. He really, really, really does want people to like him. And now he doesn't need just one half of America to like him to get the ratings up enough to get him in. Now he really wants everybody to like him. So the potential benefit is that based on his interesting and unique personality, it might work out in our favor. If we think that there's a possibility that that will work out in our favor, and we contribute our energy to that possibility, we're contributing to that possibility coming true. If we keep talking about his flaws that we may have witnessed, if that's how we're perceiving it, then that can grow just as readily. So our option today is to ignite our courage, to ignite our power by having the conversation go toward those potential benefits and putting our energy and our thoughts and our focus and our actions and our beliefs and our feelings toward that possibility.
Accentuate positive.
Yes. Yes. Here's a very interesting observation that I made today. And here's a benefit that we can already realize. When Obama was elected the first time, and basically all the Trump supporters were the ones that felt alienated and powerless, the reaction was fury. It was an active, angry, visible response. What I'm seeing today is those who feel dismissed. I'm seeing sadness. I'm seeing pain. I'm seeing fear for quality of life. I'm not seeing people picking up bats with their words. I'm seeing something far more human. So to me, there's a great opportunity here that we're not going to exacerbate the divide in our country because we're not being aggressive in our response to Trump's election. That alone is completely different than the outcome of the election 8 years ago. The outcome and the outpouring of anger was so divisive that it made the divide larger and larger and larger and larger and larger. And what we witnessed in Congress and in the Senate was how big that divide got. That's not the response this time. This is not fury.
Was just noticing that although today it's more sadness and depression and despair, during the campaign, early in the campaign, there was a lot of anger from the same people that are feeling sad and depressed today. There was a lot of can't believe this guy is up there wanting to be our president. A lot of different kinds of angry feelings, and do you think that helped to propel him by the energy
Yes.
of that vitriol?
That's a great point. Yes. Yes. And even in earlier parts of the campaign, I was asking people to look at what they value, not what they're lacking. Look at what they want, not what they don't want. You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's a great point. It's a great point. So now we can see that the energy of sadness is awful, of course, but it's still a better place for us to be at this place than at a place of anger. That's only adding in. It's almost like if our new campaign, our new anti-war campaign is all right, everybody, rally around. We're gonna make posters and we're gonna print up flyers. Let's fight the war, fight the war, fight the war, fight the war. What are you gonna get? A lot more fighting, a lot more war. It's about choosing. It's about choosing what you want. Now we can, if you feel personally like you are not represented by this upcoming administration, there are different ways to create America 2.0, which is not yet defined. There are ways that you're going to contribute, and your contribution is a choice. If you remain awake, you will make that choice toward an outcome that supports your version of what you want America 2.0 to be. If you are asleep, you're not going to make a choice that's going to support where you want to be. So in this audience, and I'll tell you, online tonight, we have the largest audience we've ever had for an Enlightenment Power group. So it's not just people on Long Island that are struggling, but there are people all over the country that are tuning today or will be tuning tomorrow, because this is actually a very uniting event.
And the world.
And the world. Yes, I actually have heard from people overseas as well. I had someone ask me if I would, someone from France today asked me if I would be willing to run for president in the next election. He's like, you have my vote.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if I have you, someone who can't vote in the United States elections as my one vote, I'm in. I'm in. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm in. But you're right. I thought that was really sweet.
So I understand people are in pain. I understand people wanted change. My disappointment was the fact that so many Americans are so unenlightened and they perceive him as being so wonderful. Like my was like, okay, 2020 is coming.
Might I say you were a Hillary supporter? Is that what I
heard? All right. How could you tell? But I just really wasn't a Donald Trump supporter. But to me, okay, so 2020 and we're going to evolve. It's like, oh my God, we are so far away. And I was like, okay, so he's the catalyst to make this whole thing happen.
Yeah. That's a good question. That's where I actually want to go next. So I'm so glad I planted
Can
you.
I just address the last two words you're erasing?
Fight more.
I think pretty much in this country, in large part, the entire population is done with war. We really don't want war anymore.
I think we're heading there.
We've suffered enough because of war. The loss of family and friends and loved ones. We haven't, recently there hasn't been as much as it was through the 60s or back to the 30s and 40s, or World War I. We would name them two, and then the Korean War, and Vietnam War. So, but now we have an issue, it's a cause and effect. So we have countries that are still warring and destroy their own countries within, then you have part of what becomes the immigration situation. So now you have a whole mass of people that need a humanitarian effort to go someplace.
Right.
But when they get to that someplace, no matter where that is, you have to provide them with living space. So no matter where that space is going to be, or if they're happy to stay where they are and help internally rebuild, like what went on after World War II, we're going to see that again. And that's what I think was attached to the immigration thing in total, is because you have a lot of foreign countries that are still, dictatorships or whatever else.
But in the process of enlightenment for humanity, that will continue until we release the concept of borders and until we release the idea of separateness. Okay? So yes, we're starting within our own nation where we do have such a culturally diverse nation, and we also have diversity of being able to express our individuality. But that this is just a microcosm of where we're intended to go. I did talk about, once in the last few months, I did talk about how I initially responded to seeing the flag after 9/11, and I realized it was a very intuitive response, that I was seeing it as divisive rather than uniting. I'm not, I can't tell you that I'm a patriot, because I'm not. I'm a person of the global community. I'm a member of humanity. I happen to be living on the earth space of the United States of America. This is the earth space that I live on, but I am a humanitarian. I am one member of our globe. I am one member of the soulful community, those who are on earth and those who aren't, and I'm nothing different than that. I'm nothing different than that. And the battles that we have of even seeing genocide and people that are migrating in large numbers just to save their lives, this is part of the process of us beginning to realize beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are a global community, that we are one. We're going to realize it, and this is one more opportunity for us to realize it, most definitely. I'm just going to say this in a silly little way, but, the reign of the entitled white man, it's over. And I do believe that even though an entitled, privileged white man was elected yesterday, I believe that the reign is over, because what I feel like part of the response of why the election went the way that it is that the last scraps of entitled white men are so afraid of losing their privilege that they had to fight with down to their knuckles to keep the way of life that they have maintained for thousands of years. There is that unconscious breath that they're taking together to hold on to what they know on some unconscious level is not a way of being. And that entitlement or privilege is not the way you earn your place in this world. You earn your place in this world by choosing who you are and choosing your contribution, not by being born any particular way, white or black, male or female, gay or straight. Whatever it is you're born should not determine the outcome of the quality of your life. And I believe that the privileged white male version of reality is coming to an end, and there's a little bit of panic going on there, okay? But it is coming to an end. Little by little, it's coming to an end. I had an interesting opportunity, and I'm not gonna say her name. I'm gonna do my very, very, very best not to say her name, because I really do respect her. But I used to when the internet was coming around, I used to be part of a women's online internet magazine. It was brand new. It was uncharted territory, and I was part of, my title was senior editor, and I wrote the feature article every month, and I helped to promote this magazine. And we were pioneers, and it was really amazing. And I had the great privilege of interviewing a Long Island pioneer as far as women's rights, and what she, I'm not going to say the name, and I love her, and I adore her, and I got to spend a good amount of time with her, and I really, really, really respect her, and I like her a lot. Now, flash forward, I guess it was last year, so I think it was probably about 15, 16 years after I had interviewed her and got to spend all that time with her. She was brought in as a keynote speaker for a women's event, and I went to the women's event because she and I had developed a really nice rapport, and I wanted to see her again. And so I went just for that purpose, to see her again. And I got there in time for her keynote. And I have to tell you, when I listened to her keynote, I was in tears because it occurred to me that the world changed around her. I was very happy for the world changing around her, but I felt so sad for her because she was a woman who was speaking to women who were starting their career in the 1970s. She wasn't speaking to people who were starting their career in 2015. And I just felt like crying. I felt like crying for her not to understand that the world has changed so much around her. And I felt like crying for the people in the room who were going to take her advice and think that it was truth. I didn't want anyone in the room to take her advice. But what it showed me is that in a very, very short 15 years, we have come a long way. Women who are in their 20s now aren't going to understand what that woman went through. And she did go through a lot in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. What she was saying was her personal truth. It's just not a truth that matches our version of reality today, but it does show you how fast these things are changing, you know, and how fast things shift, that even the most unenlightened people are a part of it in their day-to-day experiences, and it's permeating their consciousness whether they know it or not. Little by little, you chisel away at these ideas. You know, we could put up a picture of Caitlin, we just need to call her Caitlin, right? We could put a picture of Caitlin up today, the day after Trump gets elected, and we're not going to have the same jabs and jokes and stupid comments behind it because it's accepted. Look at how long it took to have that become accepted versus how long other things have taken that still are not totally accepted. The level of awareness of humanity is increasing, and if you look at the ways that it's showing itself and you focus on that, then you're contributing to the increase in the positive level of awareness. So I want to go back here now. In 2010 is when the guide started to explain to me very vividly that we're heading to a place where the positive level of awareness of humanity is growing exponentially. And it's growing so rapidly that we're going to be seeing changes that used to take a millennium, they'll be happening in 100 years. Things that used to happen in 100 years, we'll see them in a decade. Things that used to happen in a decade, we'll see them in 5 years. Things that used to happen in 5 years, we'll see it in a year, and so on. And if you think about it, think about pre-1900, how fast things shifted, how fast we became awakened, how fast we demonstrated difference. Then think about all of the 1900s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Look at how much we really did change so rapidly. That's a decade versus 100 years or 1,000 years. Now look at since 2001, which was an important opportunity for shifting the potential level of awareness of humanity. We're down to the point that we were archaic in 2014. Really, that's how rapidly things are changing. You think back to people, what they were saying in 2010, I'm sorry, but you're not going to find anyone saying those things today. Even the people that we think are living in the backwoods, you know, protecting their gun rights, even though their guns really are not being taken away from them, they're saying things because it's just normal parts of the conversation now. Men are saying it when they're giving their version of the sporting game that they just participated in. All this enlightened stuff is coming out of their mouths constantly now, and everybody's just lapping it up and accepting it like it's normal, because it is normal. The new normal never existed 20 years ago. It just didn't exist 20 years ago. So here's the thing. In 2000... Oh, these are the things that are coming up. Oh, I do want to remind you that this is November.
Yeah.
Yes.
Last month, if you remember, in December, we had a holiday share. It feels like it's been 1 month since then. But holiday share is coming up for next month, December 14th. Well, I know somebody will volunteer to organize that. You say what you would like to bring, and we'll add a little extra time. I think we add a half hour. And we share and swap and do a little bit of networking for our holiday celebration. That's in New York City and Plainview. Okay? My New York City group meets Monday, this month.
Monday.
Okay, so we're meeting on Monday this
Oh,
month.
sorry.
Oh, no problem. I'm doing some really big events the last weekend in April next year. A big spiritual, big thing. So mark your calendars for that if you want to go up to that. And it's, I think it's in Saratoga. I'll be in Saratoga. But that's supposed to be a really awesome weekend. I don't even think that's up on my website yet. Oh, and we picked the date for, I thought this was ironic.
Oh, cool.
I picked the date for the year before us, 2017. Just so happens it's the day after the presidential inauguration. So I thought it could be a little interesting if you want to be there and see what the guys have to say about the energy for 2017 coming up. Okay? Okay, I said all that. All right. Okay, so here's the thing. We've talked about this. A higher vibrational energy soul, their rays extend farther. And a smaller vibrational energy soul, their rays don't extend as far. Doesn't mean this guy's better than this guy. It just means that this one has more radiant energy. This soul in human form is closer to the vibration of love than this soul is. The soul's still, working it out, going through their incarnations or going to whatever planes is helping for the development of their soul so that their human version or their whole version remembers that we're all connected, remembers what it is like to know that we are consciously one, and we are consciously one version of the vibration of love, creation itself, all of existence. This is where we're all heading. But as we're human and we're growing, what was told to me in 2010 to 2012 is that by the year 2020, what's going to be so different about 2020 is that that'll be the first year in modern recorded history that the amount of energy existing on Earth of those above the line versus the amount of energy of those living below the line will be greater. So the energy above the line will be greater for the first time than the energy below the line. Now, if you think about what the radiant energy is of someone living below the line, someone's living down here, they're like this, right? You probably met someone like that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Little sesame seed. And then there's the grapes. And then there's the grapefruits. But what's fascinating about this, even though this is happening so rapidly now, and we are in a period of accelerated enlightenment, media will tell you that we're mostly below the line. But we're heading there so rapidly because we're heading to 2020 so rapidly. But the difficulty is everyone gets one vote, right? So even though the totality of the energy above the line is much greater and eclipsing the energy of the folks below the line, when they go to the polls, it doesn't show or express the heightened level of awareness of humanity. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
That is an interesting concept. So every one of these guys, they get to pull that little lever, right? And this guy only gets to pull the lever one time, right? Only gets to pull it one time. So that's what we have to focus on. It's 2016. We've got 4 years to find a way to make the expression of the vibrational energy above the line, since it will eclipse the vibrational energy of that below the line, that it will be able to be demonstrated and recorded in a poll situation. That's our challenge. That's our challenge.
Isn't that another benefit of Trump?
Yes.
I know,
Yes.
I was just about to
That
say,
we
he's
can
gonna
step up to the challenge. When I was, allowing myself to predict at all what the outcome of this election would be, I realized that most people in dialogue were saying which is the lesser of the two evils. I didn't really find anyone that was rah-rah about either candidate. Most were just looking for change or looking for experience versus a lack of loving vibration and tolerance and acceptance. So I didn't expect the outcome would be that we would have a candidate that was so far above the line that that version of what could happen in our next administration would obliterate every president that we've had beforehand that was maybe not connected to the vibration of love. I didn't expect that to be the outcome because we're not really at 2020 yet. So does it mean the 2020 election will be the year? I don't know. But what I can tell you is if you want it to be the year, then you have a lot of work to do. Okay? So I was very occupied with a lot going on when I got here, but I did mean to get something, and I'm going to go get it right now. Okay? I'll be right back.
Commercial break.
Can you imagine what she's gonna bring back?
So, we have a lot of work to do. And we don't have the luxury of negative thinking or negative being, and we don't have the luxury of laziness either. We can't leave all the work to somebody else. We can't be that lazy anymore. We want to catch up to what 2020 is, which is clear vision. We got to help the world catch up. We can't wait and watch through the window anymore and let other people do it and let other people take care of it. We just can't do that anymore. It's our time now, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to hand around 3 pieces of paper tonight. And what we're going to all collectively do tonight is we're going to choose and we're going to decide and we're going to declare tonight how we're going to contribute to the enlightenment of humanity, how we're going to use our energy to make the world a better place. And we're going to commit to it tonight. I'm not asking you to do something that you can't do. I'm asking you to do something that you can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand around a piece of paper that says, I commit to, I commit to, I commit to. All you have to do is write down what you can commit to. That's all I'm asking you to do. What can you commit to? It doesn't have to be big and it doesn't have to be little, but commit to something tonight. I commit to being the best version of love that I can be. I commit to staying in a place of peace. I commit to not sharing negative experiences or versions of other people with others. I commit to looking for the best in everyone. I commit to. Say what you can do. If you want to put down something a little bit bigger, put down something a little bit bigger. But at a bare minimum, we can all write something that it is that we commit to. Okay? And when you write it down, you're making a declaration to yourself, to the universe, and to each other. And if when you do this, you bring the energy out of this space, and when you find somebody else that's disenfranchised because of what they think the version of America 2.0 might be, ask them to commit with you. Ask them to be a part of the new America that we want to live in, instead of letting them feel isolated on the outside while contributing to what they think it is that the country is going to become. So in addition to committing for yourself, ask other people to commit as well. Let them know that they have hope. Let them know that they have power. Let them know that there is something to believe in and to commit to. Like I was saying, when I would coach a client who was like, I'm out of here. First thing we have to work on is to give them a full comprehension of what their purpose is in being here, why they're here, why it's a good thing that they're here. And what that does is it ignites hope. So you committing to something and then sharing that experience with other people when they feel disenfranchised, then you're making it possible that we don't have to worry so much about the numbers of the people at the polls in 2020. We just have to care about the vibrational energy during the entire 4 years and the entire presidential election period. That's where our influence is. That's where we can make change. That's where we can make a difference. Okay? So let's start passing these around. Think about what you commit to. If you want to sign your name and really, really commit to it, that's even better. But today, you commit to something. And if you find yourself focusing too much on something that's not on this list of what you committed to, catch yourself and change it and focus on what you said you are committing to. That's what you're going to commit to. You're committing to it tonight. You're committing to it for the next 4 years as a minimum. At a minimum, you're committing to it for the next 4 years. This is your contribution to living in the America that you want to live in. What you write on this piece of paper tonight is your contribution to living in the America that you want to live in.
I just wanted to add to that is brilliant. And just make the recommendation to write it in your notebook too so that you remember what you are committing to.
I like that. That's a great idea. Yes, yes, yes. I know normally I give everyone a break, but I decided not to give you a break tonight. So sorry. That's my contribution to a better America. No break tonight. And last, I don't remember. Did I think I might have ran out of time to read a lot of people last time too, right? So I think I said that I would do better about that also. So I promise I'll do better to do that tonight too. So if we took a break, I would have less time to be able to, read people tonight too. But based on where we started and what we're looking at and what we talked about tonight, does anybody have any questions? One of the things that I do want to say is, in the beginning I started talking about like how I've been pretty gentle. I've made suggestions, and I really believe in your own power to take a suggestion of value that resonates with you and apply it. But I don't really think that we need the same exact gentleness about holding people to a certain standard anymore. I think we can be a little bit more open with what our standards are. And what that means is that if you are with people who are not inclusive, who are dismissive or racist or phobic about any particular group, I think that we're at the point where it's not good to be quiet. It's not good to be the quiet one anymore. You can say everyone's doing the best that they can within their level of awareness, but we've been doing that now since 2010. Let's take it up a notch. Let's fire it up. Don't let other people be intolerant or filled with hate or show complete and total ignorance in front of you. Don't let people do that anymore. I don't suggest you get angry, but I do think you can find clever and creative and even funny ways to remind them that their version of reality is not where you live or where people are choosing to live. Okay? So I tend to use a sense of humor. Sometimes I can be a little sarcastic. I think people, when I said this at the seminar on Saturday, I think people liked the suggestion because people came back to me and talked about it afterward. But like somebody was saying, what do I do if someone's being a bigot or whatever? What I will do is I don't just walk away. I don't have a problem saying, thank you for bringing me back to that visit to 1945. It was a good decade, and I really enjoyed revisiting it. And I got to tell you, it's not a bad approach because the person doesn't feel overly criticized. They can't come back with a quick retort because they're too busy processing what you said, trying to figure out. Well, trust me, if they're that big of a bigot, they got to figure it out because they don't know what the hell you're talking about. So they're so busy processing it, they can't be angry, and they don't usually initially know they were criticized, but it gives them something to think about. And if nothing else, they're not going to try planting those seeds in your soil, that's for sure. They'll get that much out of it.
Are we supposed to be writing 3 different things?
No, I just wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to get to the sheet without waiting too long for hours. How did I get these? honey? I wake up sometimes and I'm like, where am I? You know? I was doing something, the weirdest thing on a session today. It happens all the time. I'm on a session and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I really don't even know what I'm doing. It's weird. Huh? Because I'm too busy being a conduit to you that my human self is irrelevant. Good one. Thank you. It's the truth. The truth.
I had the same, what you just said, I had the exact conversation with someone on the phone on the way when I left.
Thank you for the visit to 1945.
No, about, we should be saying, if you're around people that are speaking like that.
Yes.
That we need to be saying.
Yes.
And that's what I think, I was saying that was my biggest fear.
Yes.
Is that it's been allowed.
Yes.
And that we need to say it.
Yes.
But like, again, you just like.
Said what you were thinking. But I will say that being direct or being angry or being biting or cutting, it doesn't work. The only thing you're going to do is make them hold their ground more and to try to prove to you that they're right and to cut you down. People at any level, they don't like to be criticized. Criticism is never going to get you somewhere. People don't become enlightened and awake when they're criticized. They just don't. I mean, look at the, I remember one time I was at one of my kids' soccer tournaments, and we had a long walk down little elementary school hallways to get to the gym, right? And the teams would leave and find pockets of places in the elementary school to hang out for 6 hours and everything. And I was taking some of our team back down to our station after a game, and we passed this boys' team that they were all sitting in the hallway. You know, they were just sitting there, and their coach, they had just lost a game, so their coach was, you know, redirecting their behavior, I suppose I should say. But he was shouting at these little boys, and he's like, "You boys play like a bunch of girls!" And it was so interesting because I know, like, I got such a knot in my stomach, right? Because my girls played much better than those boys. I got such a knot in my stomach to hear him, like, ripping them apart and pulling them down, and then to use that reference as the bad place to be. But you know what? That's not going to fire these kids up to become the best versions of themselves, because criticism and knocking people down will never elicit the best version of anyone. So I do say, spend a little time thinking of a witty response to people that are living in ignorance. Give them a place to go. Don't cut them down. Don't show anger. Don't show intolerance back at intolerance. Don't greet intolerance with intolerance. So give them a better version. If I'm not being witty, I'll be like sarcastic if someone knows better, and I know they know better because they know me. Then I don't have any problem being sarcastic. But ordinarily what I would do is if somebody doesn't understand who I am and what I expect around me, I might say something like, "Oh, you know what, I don't really see it like that," or I've always seen it a little differently. And then I'll give it one quick sentence of how I see it differently. And what that does is I'm not criticizing the person, I'm saying my viewpoint, and I'm stating it so that they know that their viewpoint is not welcome within my space. And it actually works smoothly and beautifully and wonderfully every time. And some people choose not to speak to me anymore, and so that's worked out best for both of us.
So I have one more benefit to Donald Trump being president. It'll be giving comedians and SNL lots of material.
All right, that was one of the first things that I said when I woke up this morning. It's a good day for Alex Baldwin.
That's what I was thinking. He's going to be employed for the next 4 years.
Yeah, well, you have to have a sense of humor about it, and you have to add good and positive energy into wherever it is that we're going, so we can be contributing to that good and positive energy. I will get to you one second. One other thing I wanted to say about the days of silence are now over. We have a responsibility and a privilege that we have to exercise now. But the other part of that is that if we're not doing it with each other, how are we ever going to do it with our government? Really? How are we ever going to do it with our government? We are over-governed. We are over-regulated. We don't have the power that we think we do. We don't have the freedom that we think we do. If we want to get back our freedom, we better start getting it locally. We better start getting it in our day-to-day connections if we want that freedom back. Okay? Yeah.
I had another thought about what was good about Trump. But it relates back to what you were saying before about borders, that you thought that we needed to stop seeing borders in our world. And I thought, what better way would the world have to teach us something really important than to give us somebody who's belligerent, thinks they're the center of the universe, is insensitive to other people, unwelcoming, because that's how much of the world has viewed the USA.
Yes. That's a really, really good point.
But so many,
Yes.
I hear people all the time, Brianna hears this too. Why do they hate us? Why do they
We
hate
have
us? Why
earned
do people
that.
like
We have
America?
earned
We're
that
so
right
great.
to be
Yeah, we're so
hated. We
wonderful.
really have.
But the rest of the world doesn't see us that way, so maybe this will help us take our place in the world better.
Yes. And I thought of that as well, I really did think of that as well. For us not to, as a country, feel like we're privileged and entitled. It's important to earn your place, and you really shouldn't earn your place through violence and through, being a bully. You should earn your place through being cooperative and collaborative and being, part of a bigger community.
So how is Trump going to allow us to be seen differently?
There's one of two ways. One is that will alienate a lot of other countries, and they'll band together in their dislike of us. So we'll lose that entitlement that we've had for so long. And once we lose our entitlement, then you lose the privileges that you take based on your version of your own entitlement. Okay. So, for example, imagine lots and lots of our allies band together because they're not happy with our diplomatic approaches coming up. And suppose we ask for something relatively small, or what we think might be relatively insignificant, like a new naval presence in a particular body of water. If we've just alienated our allies and that water is connected to any of their space, they're just going to say, no, get the hell out of here and take your ships with you. So our privilege that we take with our sense of entitlement will disappear. So that's one possible outcome. The other possible outcome is that other people are not enchanted by our administration. Then when that administration is over, we might enter into a space where the entire world embraces us more. Okay? Sometimes you have to go down before you go back up. All right? Ultimately, what I would love to see is that we all select together our next two candidates of choice. I'm sure it would probably, be Trump that would be one of the candidates. But if we have any say about who the next candidate would be, that we should use our benchmark of choice as them being really connected to the vibration of love. And it was interesting because we've watched play out on the national canvas the difference between a person who has experience in government and a person who doesn't. And the person without any governmental experience won. So apparently we don't care about experience. So if we don't care about experience, we have to stand for something. What do we stand for? We stand for love. That's what it is that we stand for. We stand for love. When I'm coaching people in hiring practices and developing whatever their policies are for their own company, we always go to the space of you hire the candidate who is most connected to the vibration of love. And I have no problem talking about that with my clients. I'm talking people who own a billion-dollar company to someone that's just starting out. You hire based on the vibration of love. The rest will follow. You'd rather the person in your company be able to be taught the skill set that they need if it's not exactly up to par as a candidate who you don't feel is vibrating with the vibration of love. Bring them up to speed. But now you know what you have inside. You have harmony. You have someone that has the ability to live in cooperation, to learn and to grow and to communicate and to have that skill set that really builds a great company, rather than someone who's egoic and divisive and combative and competitive. So that's the key that we want to look for in our next presidential candidate as well.
That's, to me, is why it was so disappointing that people didn't see the more loving candidate.
But now, here's the thing, and I do recognize this as well. There wasn't a perception that she was a loving candidate.
Yes,
We didn't give a choice. We didn't give a choice between a non-loving and a loving candidate. Maybe she is, maybe he is. We don't really know. But our perception is that neither was. One was just less than the other. Okay, and that was a big challenge. If Hillary Clinton had chosen Bernie Sanders as her running mate, I think this would have been a slam dunk for that. Slam dunk, because people did at least innately understand that Bernie represented the vibration of love. They did innately understand that, and you could tell that they wanted that. They really did want that. So the conversation of wanting to be in the space of love, it can't end today. And all of the people that are feeling sad today, you can't give up on that. I don't care if we're a Republican or a Democratic or any other party that you want to make up along the way. The vibration of love is the only thing that matters, period. It is the only thing that matters. I think back to like the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. That's really what it is that we want. Honestly, I would rather have a corn farmer from the Western Plains become my next president if she were vibrating with the vibration of love than I would want an experienced anyone if they were not vibrating with the vibration of love, period. That's the bottom line. You know what? That's a really big place, DC. There's an awful lot of people there with a lot of experience. Someone that vibrates with the vibration of love is actually going to be able to sort out the quality of information through intuition, and that's preferable to having an egoic need to always be right or form an independent decision without any input.
I don't know if you spoke about this before, but the way the country was divided, did you speak about that? Like in terms of, you're talking about a farmer, and that's basically who elected Trump, the middle America, whatever. Is there any reasoning behind how it's so polarized?
Yeah, and that's one of the, we did talk about this a little bit before, about how 8 years ago it was half of America, now it's the other half of America, but so polarized that within 10 years, everyone in America got to see what it's like to be on the inside or on the outside from their perception perspective. Yeah, that's one of the potential benefits of this right now. Yes. Yeah. I think I mentioned the things that I wanted to say, but I did think it was important to mention that every person, regardless of their vibrational energy, gets one vote. And so that's why it's really important that we activate our commitment that we are writing here, because we want to make sure that there are more vibrational energies living above the line so that the choices of what these one vote people are going to be making, it is more aligned with the vibration of love in each election hereafter. Okay? All right, you want to pass up your
Can I just
form?
contribute one thing?
Yeah.
Through this political cycle, it was very hard for many of us to listen to both sides, whether they were speaking or whatever. I'll ask a question. When Donald Trump signed off at every rally and everything, what was the one thing that he said every time? Anybody know?
Make America great again.
No?
I love you, Tom.
No? There you go, right there.
What was it?
I love America and I love you all. He said, so if you did not stay and listen to his speeches to the end, you would not have heard that. So we can't prejudice that there isn't somebody or he wasn't trying.
Yes, and I did try to do my very best tonight to give an open possibility to what he presented as a marketing ploy rather than the essence of his being. So we shall see. We shall see. But we can give him, we can even be responsible for making him believe that it was a marketing ploy, right? Our energy is powerful enough to do that, especially if we're committed to outwardly making that a collective experience. Yes? Okay. What time is it? 8:52. Oh, you've got to be kidding me! How did that happen? I thought it was like 8:22.
It's 8:22.
8:22? How does that happen every time? I didn't even give you guys a break.
7:15.
Oh. I mean, I get to read everybody. Yay! Guys, tell me when it's 9 then. So we have an hour and 45 minutes. Okay, we have an hour and 45 minutes. Wow. All right, based on the suggestion that we heard earlier, did everyone jot down their commitment? Yeah. All right, because next time when we come back, I know how to intuit whose handwriting is whose. And I will come right over to you and I will say, and did you acknowledge the value in all and share love with all that you met? Did you do that? Did you do that? Give us an example. How did you do that? Okay. All right.
Being back in Catholic school.
Huh?
Feel like I'm being back in
I
Catholic
will do
school.
that. Okay.
Can I just make one more suggestion on, I will commit to? Why don't we just put it on the EPG, like.
I think it's a fantastic
That's a great
idea.
idea.
So I'll give it to you and you can say it. I didn't say it, I swear. I'm a conduit to your guys. I swear it.
Right there, and even the ones on the video right now.
You know what? It's really a great idea. If I don't see any real names written out here, like first and last names, maybe we could even take a photo of them and put them up on the UPG page. That might be a compromise because I am not typing these out. I have a heck of a full day tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. I'm not very committed. Yeah. No. I'm not. As someone said earlier, apparently I lay down on the job. If you saw my video, that's how unfamiliar I really am.
That's great.
Okay. Joanne is not here. I'm sorry, Joanne. You were supposed to be here. You're registered and paid. Okay, sweetie. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
You won, but you didn't win.
That's okay. Everybody is really happy. Joanne.
Yeah, right.
Someone's going to say, I'm Joanne. I'm Joanne. Did you mean Joan? Yes, Joan. You just lost some money, sweetheart.
Yeah, I know I did, but.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I know what happened. Don't worry about it.
Green is not you?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we have $20 on the floor and we have Jeannie got picked.
Wow.
Everyone's surprised by that, right?
Paid $20.
Yeah. That money is mine.
Yeah.
And Jeannie gets to speak. Okay, so what's up?
I'm so discombobulated, I'm going to share mine with someone else, though.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Wow. Wow. So that's Joanne and Jeannie that are passing it on. Let's see what we come up with next.
Might not need anybody tonight.
Why not?
I'm sorry, the time is up.
There we go. Good job.
Gee, maybe next time.
Way too funny.
Come early.
Mary Ann. Ah, welcome, Mary Ann. Come on. How are you? Huh?
No.
Oh, no. Oh, she doesn't know the drill. No. Okay. All right, the drill is that when your name is called,
If you don't know.
you get to. Sorry, I gotta pull it together here for your sake. I am a conduit to your guides. You get to ask any question, personal or global, anything even that you have a curiosity about tonight, and as a conduit to your guides, I'll answer it for you.
My heart's beating really fast.
Why is my heart beating really fast? It's because it's an innate physiological response. Fight or flight trigger that you just experienced? Okay, sorry.
No.
She's a comedian too, really.
Oh, yeah.
Any questions?
Anything.
Relationships, health, wealth.
Lot of numbers.
Want me to read someone else first and I'll come back to you?
That's okay. I want to know if I'm going to find love in this lifetime.
Aw.
I don't know if that's like the.
I'm gonna say yes.
You know, it's so interesting. I was just gonna say, everyone is a conduit to your guys.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if the answer is yes.
There you go.
It's inevitable, honey.
Second question.
It's inevitable.
Answer that too.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable. And you know what? If you want a little extra evidence, the reason everybody went to that immediate response is because all we have to do is look at you. You're vibrating with such a loving energy. We don't have to be trained psychics in order to understand that you are a magnet for a mutually beneficial partner in this lifetime. It's definitely going to happen. Not just because we're psychic and we can predict the future, it's because it's true. Okay?
She wants to know where and when.
Exactly. What's he look like?
What's she supposed to wear?
No, I do feel confident
in
about
2
it.
days,
Okay.
let us know the results.
And post it on Facebook.
Post it in the EPG page. I had a little bit of coffee at the bottom of the cup, sorry. I did empty it.
I could have got you a new cup.
Steve, you got picked. Okay, you win a 1/4 cup of coffee in a plastic cup that I've spitted. Sorry.
What did I win?
Nothing. You get to ask your question. I'm happy to see you.
A question?
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. I don't think I really have a question.
So ask a question for the benefit of everyone else then.
You could even say, what do my guys want to tell
I-
me? If you want to say that too.
They would be quiet.
That's the question I always go to.
What should I question?
The last time you asked me that question, you wound up with a new driver, and how did your wife feel about that? Remember? I remember that. You don't remember that? I remember that. Yeah, you got a new driver? Yeah. Remember? Yeah, you remember? Oh, sorry. I still remember.
I thought you meant the other kind.
I know.
Yeah, me too.
Steve, I'm probably going to give you the same message that I give you often, is that, you know, I asked you to write down something that you commit to today, but you're one of those people that you commit to this every day. You commit to being the best version of yourself every day. And that's what you exemplify in your family and in your business and with everybody that you meet all the time. So you are living as a soul in a human body, and my only answer that I could possibly give you from your guides is just to continue to do that, because you have no idea how much that has profoundly influenced the people that you meet along the way, that they model that, and they like to echo what it is that you have shown them.
What I wrote on that sheet was, I want to aspire to inspire before I expire.
Very good. That's very good. And since you already do that, there's room for another commitment.
Great.
That's really good. That's really good. Yeah.
Pretty okay.
Good. Good. I'm glad to see you. It's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you. Okay. Should I read one more, or do you guys want to get out of here? One more. One day you guys better light your Bics for me, okay?
Oh, geez, now.
Oh.
Thanks.
It's funny, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. In the next big seminar I have, I'm going to leave the stage with lots and lots of drama, and then I'm going to come back in.
Yeah,
And I'm going to give an encore.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like so excited. I always have this vision of like, it's got to happen soon because I've had the vision for years. But I see me on this stage, and I think there's probably about 1,000 people in the audience, and I have all this stuff planned out, like these movies in the background that we make and we produce, really good movies, like The Meaning of Life, how things happen, the science behind it, all the stuff is playing. We got our little band, and I'm gonna have fun doing this. I'm gonna keep changing outfits. I just want to do that, you know? And so I'm going to, like, have the band's going to play a song that's meaningful and tender. It's going to make you cry. And you're going to be so busy crying. And I'm going to just, like, slip away. And when I slip away, I'm going to go hide. And I'm going to change my outfit. And I'm going to come back out.
Pull out applause.
I look forward to it. I look forward to it. Okay, Mary. Where's Mary? Mary Ellen?
Mary Ellen?
Mary Brothers.
Yes.
Oh, okay, Mary it says, sorry. Hi, Mary.
Hi. The last time you had read me, I had asked about my next part of my journey. And you had said I'd be involved in 3 different things.
I did.
You did. And as anxious as I am and looking forward, I haven't really, kind of thrown myself into any kind of planning because I'm still part of the career I'm still in, but, are there signs I'm missing? Is there something I should be focusing on that I'm not, or?
I don't know. I don't remember anything that I said to you. I'm sure you know that. But
And that you just said you'll be involved in 3 things, and it'll be, and that was it. You were very,
okay.
general.
All right, so I am getting 3 things again that are opening up, so maybe I'm supposed to be giving you more information about it, because what I see in those 3 things is that one is personal, one is professional, that you are certain that it's the way that you have a source of revenue from it, and the third is sort of personal but really matching your soul's intention. And it's that third one that you decide or choose or select that I actually see becoming a revenue producer, okay? So in other words, by having the one where you are earning, you do have the revenue, it's going to take away the scarcity fear that if you did only this, you would have. And if you have scarcity fear, you have a resistance to opening up the abundance in that pathway. So by having revenue here and then doing this thing that matches your soul's intention, the revenue will come because you won't have any fear. Okay? So that's the 3 things. And I guess it was meant for you to contemplate it for yourself for a while, and then for me to pick your name out again. So, or if I don't remember when I read you, but that it was meant to be that you would have the opportunity to process the information, see what you came up with, and then get the second half of the equation at another date. Okay? All right. Good. Good. Go for it. Yes. Now you have more of an idea of what they're talking about.
I do, because I think it's more for me to, formalize it rather than a time frame.
Okay. All right. Good.
Because I'm thinking more that it should happen sooner than putting it on a chronological time period.
Yes. 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 All right. Good. I'm glad. All right. So thank you everybody for being here. Let's all remember our commitment to ourselves and to each other and to everyone. And let's amp up the courage a little bit, find witty and friendly and kind ways to communicate with others the world that it is.